Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday!
That was one heck of an intro, buddy. That was a real...
Well,
that was...
I, you know what, guys? I got really excited because Miles Wood has been signed to a 4-year deal with the New Jersey Devils. He's going to make a boatload of money. I think like $2.5 million a year or something like that. But I hope he plays like he's making $9 million a year. What were you guys thinking when the Devils signed Miles Wood? I didn't think it was going to happen. I honestly didn't think it was going to happen for another week or two.
I was
Go ahead,
yeah, we're both trying to let the other talk. I was surprised when I saw the alert on my phone yesterday. I was like, oh, hey, all right, cool, that's done. So business taken care of, and we can move on to getting the season underway, which is great because you hate, especially going into the Euro trip coming, and with preseason, you don't want them to be too far behind the team. So better off getting this stuff done early, obviously, but just makes it easier for everyone.
Yeah, seriously, as soon as it broke on my phone, that's the first thing I thought too. I was like, I'm so happy that this is out of the way. It's not dragging in towards the beginning of the year. And you nailed it. Like, especially they're getting close to going overseas, so you didn't want that kind of lingering with the team. So it's nice. They get it done with, they get it over with. They sent a couple guys on waivers today. So it's, a lot of guys are kind of getting sent around, and the team's going to start taking shape. So this is also, now that I think that Ray's got this last piece signed, I wonder if this means he can now kind of tinker around with the idea of making a trade.
Yeah, once you make a great point there. Now that this business is taken care of, then they know exactly what they have. They know exactly what they can do, and they can start filling in those holes that they definitely need to fill. Still got to work on a little bit of defensive work. I know that this week in the 2 preseason games, I know they're preseason games. They're great games. when we win, and then they're just preseason games when we lose.
Yeah, like when we
Especially
lost to the Rangers in overtime the other night, I was like, when we were winning, I was like, yeah, this is great. I love it. Hockey's back. And then when they lost, I was like, it's preseason. Who cares?
Yeah. I was going
Walk.
I was going back and forth with my cousin who's a Ranger fan. And at the very end of the game with that play, you know, where we get stripped of the puck right above the dots, and then all of a sudden it's a 3-on-1 down low. I'm talking to my cousin who plays hockey in high school, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what, man? That play looked exactly like what I've seen in my my adult league team for the last 2 months. 3-on-1, pass right in front of me, and then eventually going in, because you can only do so much as a goalie in that type of situation. You can only
go side to side how many times?
Yeah. Without someone gaining the advantage that's not you. Every now and then, the goalie can make that save, but in that situation, it's really tough. It's when I saw that, I was like, oh, that looks like every Tuesday night for me. So that was just a hard way to end that game. And then we couldn't even put one in against the Islanders, which was
Grace. To all Grace's credit, the Devils did put a lot of pucks on him, but a lot of them were kind of straightforward shots. But he did play really well. He's not a terrible goaltender, but he's just kind of one of those guys that never really lives up to the billing. It's just, it's preseason, so you take everything with a grain of salt. In the Islanders game, they didn't have Hall playing, they didn't have Heischer playing, they didn't have Johansson playing, so they didn't have a full squad. Obviously, I don't even think Palmieri was playing. I think Zajac was one of the headliners of that game. So, Zajac and Coleman. So you have a bunch of guys that are still trying to prove themselves, and a bunch of guys that are, probably not going to be a part of the big club and are essentially just AHLers, their entire career. Nothing, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's, you could see the mistakes happening, and you could see things happening, and you're just like, all right, well, it's preseason. If that crap happens in the actual season, that's when you get angry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. A lot of these guys are just trying to make an impression, but I don't know how much of an impression was made there. The whole time it still sucks to lose. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, especially to a local team, a local rival. Not like the Islanders are a huge rival, but the Rangers certainly are. And to lose to them,
definitely.
It does suck, and it doesn't. And again, it's preseason. I get that, but you still want to see the team doing well and making continuing the progress where they left off.
Yeah, and you could see the difference in talent. You know what I mean? Like, you could see the difference of when you have your A lines and you have your top end players, as opposed to a bunch of guys that are, normally third liners, or like I said, not even a part of the big club, because that talent level is drastic. They had Eberle playing for the Islanders, and they had a couple. Anders Lee was playing. They had a couple guys that were, some of their top line guys out there. So it wasn't like, it felt like the Islanders had more talent on the ice per se, and it showed. There's a lot of times where some of the guys looked lost, and a lot of the shots. It's weird because you get into a game like that, and you're like, man, would the Devils put up like 14 shots in one period? But as a goaltender, you could attest to this. If you're getting shots where there's no traffic in front of you, and it's a pretty shot from out high, and you could see it all the way, it's relatively easy to stop.
Oh yeah, you're going to stop it every time, and especially goaltender at the NHL level is going to stop any shot that he sees. So yeah, it's quantity and quality, quantity versus quality, whatever you want to say, it is definitely a big deal with shots on goal. And
yeah, Rob said that they need to come out tomorrow against the Rags and actually, find a way to play 60 minutes. I agree, because now you're starting. This is the preseason, but they do need to start tightening some of the bolts and getting ready. They did that by cutting a lot of the guys, putting them on waivers and sending them back to their, to the minor leagues, or to the OHL or EHL or wherever the heck they came from. Some of them. And by the way, to answer Sarah's question, she said, "How do you get 3 guys on live on Facebook?" It's just magic. You have to talk to Sam. It's just straight up magic. Voodoo science.
Producer Sam. He shows up occasionally.
Sam.
You know,
See, there he is. Look at how fast
Yeah,
he is.
yeah,
Lightning quick now.
Let me
Lightning
explain. Let me
Oh,
explain
here we
how
go.
this all works. We built
Voodoo
a
magic.
bunker studio. We did a bunker studio over the summer. So in case the apocalypse happens, there will be cockroaches at the Let's Go Devils podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's magic. And plus, the reason why we do this is we're kind of lazy. I don't want the guys over messing up my house and this and that. So I decided, put a couple iPads, a couple mics, headphones, then we can do the podcast. All right, I'll shut up. I got to call Pete soon.
It is Russian collusion, says Rob.
There we
so
go.
It's magic or Russian collusion. It could be possibly Russian collusion if in the middle of this we start speaking Russian.
Oh man! Speaking of that, Sam alluded to our guest that he's calling right now is the organist for the New Jersey Devils. So Pete is he's an accomplished musician. He's obviously the organist, and we all know him from all the home games. And we're very happy to have him come on the podcast tonight. So it'll be fun to talk to him. It'll be a different and interesting conversation, that's for sure.
It will be, definitely. I have a couple fun questions for him too.
Yeah, I do as well. It's gonna be cool.
I used to be in a band, and we had a couple songs that we absolutely hated to play. So I'm sure he's got a few that he's not too fond of playing, but it's always like a top request. So I'm kind of interested to see that. And also Todd just joined the group or joined the party. Todd, don't worry, we're going to talk a little bit more. We did talk about Miles Wood, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more after we talk to Pete. But it's a good thing. The term of the contract is good. Miles Wood coming back is good.
Yeah,
a lot of good things coming out of that.
Yeah, and this week we should really start seeing the real team that they're gonna bring to Europe, because that'll be the team that'll start the season.
Mm-hmm.
So final looks this week. You'll get that meeting. With the coach or with the coaching staff, or I'm sure someone will, the guys that are going to be sent back down to Binghamton or whatever. Which, by the way, I was talking about this over the weekend. I kind of want to try a trip to Binghamton this year. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Sweet. How far of a drive do you think that is?
Oh, it's only about 2. Well, from me, it's about 2 hours, 2.5 maybe. My brother lives about 45 minutes to half hour north of there. So, and I got some friends in town as well. So, I think it'd be a fun trip, because I never made it to a game in Albany, nor did I ever make it to a game in Trenton.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in college, I used to work for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, because they were right down the street. So I've seen some AHL games, but not a ton. But I think it'd be fun to go to the Binghamton Devils game.
Yeah, dude, I'll bring my buddy Charlie Jackson, who's watching us right now. He's one of those people that would be a good person to have on the road with us. Good battle mate.
Nice. Yeah, and I got some other friends that would definitely come along, and would definitely check out a game. It would be a good time.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Maybe we can get that party bus that we spoke about.
Hey, we can absolutely get a party bus. That would be
a live podcast from the party bus, driving to the game, then try to do a recap after driving home.
That might be a disaster, because those AHL games, they have like $2 beer nights and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Nickel shot nights.
Yes.
What promotion you guys got going on now? I don't know, but you're going to be blackout drunk. All right, sounds great.
Won't remember what happened. However, you won't spend a lot of money doing it. That's pretty much all it's going to be. But yeah,
I went there with $30 and came back with 26.
It would definitely be worth the trip. It would be a ton of fun. So
now,
I'm kind of
hoping we
can do it.
So something that kind of like nagged me last year, and I know this is like completely off subject, but what about that logo on their sweaters? I don't know if I could. I was never a fan. It looks like an emoji. You know what I mean? Like I was never a huge fan of that. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. So, Sam, you coming back, or what do you got?
Oh, I'm definitely back.
All right, cool.
This man, doesn't really need an introduction. I mean, he has become kind of a cult figure with Devils fans that have been around for the last 15, 20 years. Every time you go to the, back then, the Continental Airlines Arena and the Prudential Center, you always hear that organ, and there's always a man behind the keys. And we're, for the first time, on our podcast, we have Pete Cannarozzi, who plays the organ at the Devils games at the Prudential Center, on live with us on the Let's Go Devils podcast. Pete, I saw the pictures on your Twitter account, the first preseason game, but there's a huge layoff. Are you practicing the organ, that 2 or 3 week layoff before the next home game, which is the opening night of the New Jersey Devils home opener?
Yeah, I'm always making a lot of preparations. I'm updating my playlist all the time. I coordinate stuff that I play at the game with our producers. And as a matter of fact, I'm practicing right now.
That is awesome.
That's awesome. Live on the podcast, we have Pete playing the organ. This is great. So Pete,
go ahead.
My big question is, what exactly, like, we know what the players do for preseason, getting ready for the season, and I know you partially just answered it, but like, when you update your playlist and get ready for the season, what are you looking for? Do you have is there anything you aim towards to, for the upcoming season and stuff like that?
Sure. I sort of start with, when I get to the arena, I prepare songs to play during ingress, because I play from when doors open all the way up to warm-ups. And that's just kind of like background music, so I'll try to do the top 40 thing and get a bunch of different sounds from the organ and, try to entertain the folks, so I'll do a top 40 thing for that. But as far as my game prep, I'm always listening and thinking of songs. What would be a great song to play for this penalty kill? What would be a great song to play? When the Devils score. What would be a great song to play when we're on the power play? That kind of thing. And then there's penalties. If we get a penalty or if the other team gets a penalty, I'm always thinking about stuff like that. So that's kind of like what my game prep is.
That's really cool. So, Pete, I have a quick question for you. Just out of curiosity, being a musician and playing, a decent amount of times throughout the year, what is the one song that you love to play and the one song that you cannot stand to play?
Well, let's see. I love when we score. There's a song that they play. It's our goal song, right? But then Kevin Clark will do the announcement of the goal, and I get to flourish his announcement, with something like this, and that really gives me chills because, Kevin announces it, the crowd's going crazy, and, I get to play that kind of thing. But as far as a real song goes, I have so many that I'm favored for. I love playing the Imagine Dragon songs. I just learned how to play Believer and Whatever It Takes, that kind of stuff. But I really get a charge out when I get to flourish Kevin's goal announcement.
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Pete, in this digital age where I'm sure a lot of arenas are going towards just a DJ and a playlist. How many other? Do you know if there are the number of other organists that the NHL has in all the other buildings?
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I belong to a user group which is on Facebook. It's private, so you guys probably won't be able to see it. Maybe I could get them to share it with you. It's called Sonata, and it's comprised of all the organists in the league, for the NHL, for NBA, and for Major League Baseball. And we're working on a big project right now. It's actually a video that we're all going to record the same song, and then we're going to cut it together with each one of us for 10 or 15 seconds and then cut to the next guy, cut to the next guy. It's going to be kind of like sequential during the song. And I'm not going to tell you the song because that'll blow the surprise. But it's a pretty cool project. And there are about 30 of us. I think there's only 2 or 3 teams that don't have live organists. So we're in touch all the time. We talk all the time. We discuss what we do, and we support each other really well.
That's really neat. Do you ever do any collaborations out of the stadium, or do you guys do any kind of gigs outside of the stadium, or do you do any personal music outside of the stadium?
Yeah, I've done some seminars, at a few universities. They've asked me to come in and sort of demonstrate what I do. And then last summer I played for the draft party, which was sort of a devil's event, but it was across the street at one of the bars from across the street from Prudential. So that was kind of cool. And I got to meet and hang out with Patrick Eliash and Ken Danico, and that was really a cool event.
So the one of my close friends here, he's a band teacher at an elementary school, and he was wondering if you would be interested in coming to our elementary school and doing a show with us.
Oh, I would love to do that. Tell him for sure. Absolutely.
All right. That's awesome. I'll definitely have, you know what? We'll have to talk to Sam about that afterwards, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, no, that would be great. I've done a number of those things. I've done a few grammar schools. I've done some universities. Yeah, sure. That's I love promoting the sport and the doubles in that way. It's really great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, Pete, how'd you get your start in music? Like, what was your first instrument? Like, what drove you to have a passion to play? I'm
from Chicago, so when I was in grammar school, a bunch of us got together. We decided to make a Beatles band, right? So I was the organ player in the Beatles band. We had guitar and bass and drums. We would do all these Beatles songs, and then that sort of progressed into one of the nuns at the Catholic school I was attending heard that I played the organ, and they snatched me up and when I was 11 years old and made me play the organ for mass and for weddings and for funerals. So I've been playing the organ in church since I was 11, and they wouldn't even let me go to baseball practice. They said, "No, you got to play the organ. You're not going to baseball practice." It was pretty funny.
Now, do you get a chance to ever go down on the ice and just kind of hang out with the players, or do you get to kind of take off during the game, or are you I know you said when the doors open, you start going. Is it just doors open, you start going, and then you're through the entire game and until everybody walks out, or do you get a chance to kind of enjoy the game while it's going on?
No, pretty much what you described. I get about a 15-minute break after ingress during warm-ups, and then I'm back in the chair because we got to be ready to go for start of game. And then sometimes I play the anthem with our let, so I got to get ready for that. And it's the whole our part of the game is very well produced, and it's actually all scripted. If we were on video, I could show you like a copy of one of my scripts, but it's all scripted out. It's prepared in advance. We have a run through an hour before doors open, and to make sure we're all on the same page. But it's a regular production, So I really don't get much time to hang out, unfortunately. But when the puck drops, that's when I get to watch the game because there's no music when they're playing.
All right, so Pete, you just said you had a script. You have your production. So what happens in the playoffs and it goes to like 3-4 overtimes? Do you have a overtime script, or do you just kind of go off the cuff and you just start playing whatever? Do you start repeating stuff? Like what do you do for that situation?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of both of what you said. We do have overtime script. It's built into every game script. And then, of course, depending on the situation, we can improvise, and I have enough songs in my library, where I usually don't have to repeat anything. But I guess if it went 7 or 8 rounds, we might have to start repeating stuff. But yeah, we're pretty well prepared for overtime. Sure.
Pete, one question I have, because I've sat behind you during the games. You seem to be the one that has really the most fun out of all the entertainment staff the game day staff. My question to you is, how do you concentrate? I mean, there are so many moving parts going into the game day production. You've got, Kevin Clark, you've got people behind you, you got kids, wanting to meet you, and then you're just hammering away at the keys. Like, how do you concentrate? Do you just go in a zone and just play your music like it's no one's business and just tap away?
Yeah, actually, I do. I can really zone in and focus because I wear in-ear monitors. So what I'm listening to is the director, calling the shots, and in my left ear I've got the organ. So my in-ear monitor sort of like tune everything out and just let me focus. But I can multitask a lot of the times too. I can handle like a lot of situations. But that's a great question. But you're right. I'm having a lot of fun down there. Next time you're behind me, you got to give a shout. I didn't know you guys were even back there, but I have a lot of fun. I get to play music and watch hockey. I have the best gig in the world. It's really great.
Totally.
Now, I have a quick question too. So you said earlier that one of the starts that you had was playing Beatles music. So is it really like a treat when the Devils do the Beatles night? Is that like one of the nights that you look forward to the most?
Oh, sure. I love all the theme nights. We play some Beatles. We have 80s night. We have Star Wars night, which I really love. Mm-hmm. That's a really cool theme night. Yeah, we have a lot of theme nights that, and I prepare for. That's like even more preparation because I have to learn all those songs and throw them into my library. But yeah, that's really cool. I love doing all those theme nights.
That's cool. Do you have any theme nights that you wish they would do that they haven't done yet?
Wow. That's great. I guess would be horn bands night. Like, when I was growing up in Chicago, there was the group Chicago. There was Blood, Sweat, and Tears. There was Tower of Power. Those horn bands would have all those great funky grooves and vocals and all the smoking horn parts. I really like that. And also Santana. One of my favorite bands is Santana because the original organ player Greg Rowley was my idol when I was growing up. So that would be great to have a theme night of that. And as a matter of fact, we're going to be doing some of that kind of stuff during intermission this year. I think they're going to have me playing a song along with one of those bands because this new organ that the Devils just got allows you to play MP3s through the organ and play along with it. So I'm gonna do some editing and get some of those tracks up and play along with them during an intermission. Do like a little, 2 or 3 minute show. So that would be pretty cool.
That's really cool. Do you ever have to run into any kind of like copyright infringement? Wait, everything gets approved right before it gets to your hands where you get a chance to play it? Like everything has to go through legal and everything else?
I believe that there's a blanket licensing fee that's paid by most arenas to ASCAP and BMI and CSAC, where they just pay a blanket annual fee and then they, you can play whatever that you want. I believe that's how it works, but don't quote me on that.
Have you ever started playing a song at the arena and have someone come up behind you and be like, no, you got to stop. You got to stop.
Well, funny you should mention that. We were playing Philadelphia one time, and for a while there was a song in my playlist called "Eye of the Tiger." I'm sure you guys know that. It goes right. So I thought, okay, we needed something to really pump everybody up. So I started playing "Eye of the Tiger," and the director gets on the intercom and goes, "Don't play that." And right at that moment, I realized, oh man, that's the theme from Rocky, and it's Philadelphia. So I will never do that again.
We actually have a great question from somebody on our Facebook group. Rob wanted to know, is it hard to sync up with Arlette when you're playing with her since she's so far away, or did they pipe her right into your ear? Does she take cue from you, or how does that work?
Rob, that is a great question. I worked very hard getting that synchronization going, and what we do is, for all you audio guys, I have a foldback from the control room coming to my mixer. So Arlette's vocal is direct right to my ear, so I can accompany her with no problem. And sometimes she has some issues down on the ice because sometimes there's a delay and sometimes there's not. Not quite sure where that comes from, but as far as me syncing up with her, I'm right in sync with her because she's in my ear the whole time. So that's, and I worked really hard to make that happen because I wanted to make sure that the two of us would sound great together. So, yeah, I've got a fallback of Arlette going right to my in-ears.
That is super cool. That is really cool because I always wondered that, how, because, I know there's, like you said, the in-ear mic and everything else, but to be able to get that timing it has to be perfect because if it's off by a millisecond, you can really hear it. So that's so impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And Arlette and I, we sound check, even though we've played the anthem a number of times together. We still come in, we run it down before the doors open to make sure we're in sync and that everything's working correctly. Yeah. So, and sometimes Arlette and I, we actually rehearse on the telephone too, if we've got to do something. So, we're very much in sync. I think it's really important when you're accompanying a singer, to make sure everything goes well.
Pete, got a question for you. Doing some research, looking at your site, it mentions a studio. Do you also run a recording studio as well?
Yeah, for a long time, I had a recording studio in Manhattan called Hell's Kitchen Music. I was a jingle writer and I was a arranger in residence, and I worked there for a long time. And then when that closed, I moved everything to my home studio, which I operate out of my house here in Newton, New Jersey. But yeah, I do a lot of production for the Devils in my studio. As a matter of fact, the jingle you guys played at the beginning of the show, Name That Tune with Pete, was recorded in my studio, and it was me and my wife Sabrina and my two children were the singers. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I get a lot of work. I get a lot of work out of my studio.
That's pretty awesome. And you said the studio was in Newton?
Yeah, Newton, New Jersey. Yep.
Okay, because I'm right in Vernon, so I'm same county as you.
Oh, cool, Sussex County. Yeah, we just moved out here from Bergen County. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
Now, being at the arena every night and being surrounded by Devils fans every night, have you really taken on the Devils as like, this is my team, this is who I'm always going to root for, and do you have that same hatred towards the Rangers like we do?
Yes, and yes. Yeah, no, I've really grown to show a real loyalty and a passion for this team, and I'm always, when they're on the road, I'm not with them, so I'm following them very closely. I watch all the stats on all the websites, and that's really great. But I was a big hockey fan. My dad is the reason I play the organ, because he really pushed me into it after I started playing in church. And we're from Chicago, and we would go to Blackhawks games together, and listen to Frank Pellico, who's the Blackhawks organist, and he's in our user group. So, yeah, I really love this team, and I really do feel that way about the Rangers.
Now, have you gotten a chance to play in any of the other buildings besides the Rock or Continental?
The only other building I played in besides Continental and Prudential was Yankee Stadium for the Winter Classic, and man, what a treat that was!
Cool.
There's an organist who's not with us anymore. His name is Eddie Layton. He's like the guy who everybody looked up to and who was sort of like our surrogate mentor for learning how to do these kind of gigs. And his name is Layton. And I sat down and played the organ that he played at Yankee Stadium, for that game. So that was a real thrill for me because he was the organist since 1969 for all those years when Steinbrenner was his boss. So, and Steinbrenner loved the organ and he loved Eddie, and, we all looked up to Eddie. So that was really a great experience when I played at Yankee Stadium.
Now, were you as cold as we were during that game? Because that was probably the coldest I've ever been in my entire life.
I was just going to ask the same thing.
Yeah. No, actually, the organ's in the Delta Suite. It was inside. So I was like drinking hot chocolate and eating cheeseburgers while you guys were out there.
Pete, I got to tell you this. From that game, I had never... The second beer I got was warmer than the beer I just finished. That's how cold it was. It was freezing my beer. It was so cold.
I remember. And then there was a game delay with the sun.
Yep.
And then it started snowing. Yeah, that was quite a game.
As far as I'm concerned, only the first period happened because after that, everything just went to hell. So, as far as in my mind, it was the first period, and that was the entire game.
Yeah, we did kind of fall apart after that.
Now, I got a question about the kind of like the experience of playing at Yankee Stadium as compared to playing at the Rock. Now, it's got to sound so much different. I mean, as a fan, it obviously sounds different. You're out in the open for one, and the acoustics are going to be different. But it has to sound a little bit different to you. Did it feel different when you were playing it, or because you were inside the Delta Suite, did it not make a difference?
Oh, it was a big difference. The organ at Yankee Stadium has everything is built in, so you don't need to, in the room you're playing in, you don't need to listen to headphones. You don't need an amplifier. It just comes out of the organ itself. It's got built-in speakers, a built-in amplifier. So I was hearing it, not in my earphones, but in the room. And then, if somebody opened the door, I'd hear the half a second delay from it swirling around Yankee Stadium. So yeah, it was a much, much different experience because at Prudential I have, like I talked before, I have those in-ear monitors and I've got everything direct to my ear, so I'm hearing everything like I'm in a recording studio. So playing the Yankee Stadium was a real different experience for me. I was lucky enough to be able to get there the day before and sit down at the organ and check it out and play it and see what it was all about, because that would have been tough if I'd have to just jump in there, cold without knowing what to expect.
That's really cool. Also, just kind of, this is usually how our show flows, but off the cuff, one of our listeners remembers when you dressed up as a leprechaun during St. Patrick's Day, and he goes, I have a picture of it too. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. Not to change gears that quick, but that's how we do.
Yeah, did you see me as the Sith Lord when we did Star Wars?
Yes. I'm actually wearing one of the shirts from that night too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my wife did that makeup on me. It took like 2 hours. She did a great job. I was like a Sith Lord for Star Wars night.
That is really cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one again this year. So it's going to be pretty interesting. The 90s night, and something I have to ask you is, we were there one night and we heard NHL 94 being played.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
This is so cool.
Oh, that made me so happy.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that was at the request of Arda. Arda asked me to do that, and he videoed the whole thing. It was sort of like the two of us put that together. So I did that for Arda. That was really cool.
Yeah, we had him on last week. He was telling us about it, and that was something I had to ask you about, because I have such an affinity for that game. And will we be hearing that again this year? That's a question for you.
Yes, absolutely. Just come up and request it, and I'll play it right away.
Oh, sweet. I can't wait.
That's awesome.
Hey, Pete, before we let you go, could we play Name That Tune with Pete and see if our Facebook Live listeners and Periscope listeners can name that tune?
There it is.
Here, let's.
Sure. Sure. What you got in mind?
I don't know, but hold on one sec. We got to do it right.
Name that tune with Pete.
That's great.
Well, you know, let's do it this way, Pete. Why don't you play a tune, and we'll see if our listeners can join in our Facebook group and figure it out. How about that?
All right. I got a good one for you. Here we go. Are you ready?
All right, let's hear it.
Here we go. All right, there it is.
I'm stumped. I know that too, but I'm stumped. Hold on.
All right, I'm asking the Facebook group. Let's see what anyone gets. Oh man, I know it too, but it's like a name is the name is definitely escaping me.
Somebody said Wolf Mother.
That's it.
There we go. Charlie
Jackson,
the winner.
Hey, you know what?
Charlie
To
Jackson's
Charlie's
the winner.
credit, Charlie is a band teacher, my colleague and band teacher. So I'm glad that he got it. Thank you, Charlie.
He should
All
get
right,
it.
tell Charlie I'll give him 2 tickets to a game coming up. How about that?
Hey, all right.
Hey,
All right.
sweet.
Hey, Charlie, you can bring me.
Oh, that's great, Pete. That's great. Pete, we'll talk offline. We'll send you a T-shirt for you and your wife. The Let's Go Devils podcast T-shirt. If you see the video screen right now, it's on Shorts Guys. Right shoulder? That T-shirt over there. We'll send you 2 T-shirts for you and your wife. Okay.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you so much. Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
That's Pete Cannarozzi. What a nice guy. What a nice guy.
That was such a cool interview. I was not prepared for him to actually be sitting at his organ and playing for us.
I'm
No,
so
that
happy
was
I was
right
definitely
now.
completely taken. I was taken by surprise with that.
What
That
a
was
cool
so
guy.
cool. That was so cool.
You know when I patched him into the board, he's like, "Is it okay if I'm on speakerphone?" And I'm like, "I don't know," but now I know why. He surprised me.
Yep.
This was definitely not planned, and we got to name that tune with Pete. We were
Yeah,
able
that's
to
so
do
cool.
it.
I can't stop smiling. That was one of those interviews that I'm just that was so cool.
Yeah, you know what? We'll talk to Pete off air. You know, maybe we'll have a couple little projects. Maybe come to one of our live events or something like that, and play the organ. In the middle of the viewing party that we like what we had last year, and also you guys talked about maybe Pete could make us a theme. He should do a kill chant type.
Oh man, you know what though? We should definitely ask him. We should definitely ask him that to see if he can come up with. We could have our very own theme. That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh, his wife on the Facebook live chat says thank you for the T-shirt. Eric Burns writes thank you, Pete. Rob, I need a selfie with Pete now. Well, you got to go to the game, Rob. You got to go to the game. I just, I wonder because I can't, I can't concentrate when there are people behind me. That's why I always sit in the back of the class or in 208. I sit in like the last row. I can't concentrate with people behind me. And I just seriously don't know how Pete does it, how he does it, night in and night out. Because honestly, with my ADD and me getting distracted, I probably screw up the song and just mess it up.
You figure it out. You learn to do it. It's it's his job, so that's what he just zones in and does. I'm sure I'm almost with 100% certainty going to say that you ignore a lot of stuff between the hours of 8:45 and 10:30 when we're on the podcast. Between pre, during the show, and post. I'm sure there's a lot you ignore because you're
There's
in the
some-
zone. The same thing as Pete.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Crying children in the other room, stuff like that. Sometimes my wife doing dishes right there.
I'd be, back in the day, I'd be distracted with the Devil's Dancers right next to me. Remember the extra security that they had?
Hold on. I gotta say. So Eric Burns just said, "See if he can start playing some Slayer." Yes, I need. You know what? Okay, next time we talk, I want to ask him if he can play "Rain in Blood" on the organ because I feel like that would be an amazing sound.
Now and stupid me just thought of a question. Maybe I'll have to ask him off air. If he has to take the time to arrange everything for the organ himself, or if there's already stuff done for him already. My guess is he's got to do it himself. But
no, he might be particular. That's a good question. Damn, we'll have to have him on again.
Yeah, I know we will. We'll have to stop by and ask him that at one of the games.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so much fun. That was a lot of.
And
fun.
what was interesting was.
And by the way, Pete
what was it?
Pete just chimed in on the group saying, "Thanks everyone." You're welcome, Pete. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah, seriously.
I was about to say what was interesting was we had Arda on last week. Talking
He just said
about
he'll do a theme song. I'm sorry, Sam. I know we keep on interrupting you, but Pete just said he'll do our theme song, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Everybody in Facebook Live, just thank Pete right now. Just here,
Yeah,
I'll get on my phone. I'll just thank you, Pete. Just everybody in Facebook Live right now. Just write thank you, Pete. He seriously, just like Arlette, just amazing people. They're like cult-like figures inside the Prudential Center, and they're just great people. We had Arlette on, last season, and you know how I feel about her. I'm personally connected to Arlette. The other day, it was actually Shorts guy, because we were looking for a guest for this weekend. He's like, "What about Pete the organist?" I was like, "Hey, that's not a bad idea." And then I just texted Arlette, and Arlette put us through with Pete, and then the magic happened. Had a good conversation with Pete, and we did the podcast with Pete. It's really great.
So cool.
This is really like the. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's season 2, man. We're really coming out firing. So I'm glad everybody is back with us, all of our Facebook friends and everything else. And I got to say, this is amazing. I don't know how we're gonna follow it up next week.
Well, I could tell you. I'm not gonna leak. I'm not gonna leak any names, but have you guys seen the guest roster list sometime in November? That's shape it up for quite well. It could be one of our biggest podcasts. Yeah. Don't want to jinx it, but I don't want to give out any kind of inside information.
Yeah,
but I think that I think there's going to be a lot of speculation who that guest could be. But till then, we're just going to be doing the podcast. We take our Let's Go Devils podcast 1 week at a time. Just 1 week at a time. We usually figure things out by 8:30. Yeah, we usually figure things out by like 8:59. Right before we hit the screen button. On the Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube Live, and all over the place. The Let's Go Devils podcast. But everybody in the Facebook Live, just thank Pete. I think this whole week we should just thank Pete. Just thank Pete. But we asked some pretty good questions. We really did. Some of your questions that you asked, I always wondered.
What I really enjoy about it is getting a different perspective, because you go to the games and it's something that you kind of take for granted, because Pete's always there and he's always putting on music and he's always doing a great job. And even that moment, like he said, you walk in the door and you don't think about it. You sit in your seat and you get yourself some food and a beer and you're hanging out, and he's playing music in the background, before the game actually starts. And it's like, it's so entertaining, but you don't think about it sometimes. You're just like, yeah, it's just there. It's like it kind of expected. And then you meet the guy that's behind the music, and it's incredible. You know what I mean? It's like it's a different layer of everything else. It's so awesome to see. First of all, to put a voice to the organ or a name to the a face to the name. So I think it's so cool.
Plus, it was great to hear that there were that many organists around the league.
I wonder what two
which is
teams
also
don't have
phenomenal. I don't know. It's a good question, but like in this digital age of digital everything, to hear that almost all the teams have an organist is phenomenal.
Well, you know what's great about having Pete, a live organist, it brings you it keeps the tradition of old time hockey. When you hear that when you hear the organist right now, new arenas, new buildings, they're basically like pinball machines when the team scores. Like it's so there's a lot of technology, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm so glad that the Devils, with all the changes since the new ownership, they've kept Pete and they've kept Arlette. They're the constant. They're the from the past, but it's also looking forward. I mean, the fact that Arlette and Pete do these duets, for our listeners and viewers, it's very hard to sync up, especially, and that was a great question by Rob. Like, how do you sync up with Arlette when she's down there and you're over there? And, as what Pete was referred to, all the latency, the delay, that sometimes happens. He doesn't know why it happens. I actually know why it happens. So if you need a little help from me, you could, give me a call and a couple of bucks, maybe I can help you out there. But anyway, so.
Couple of bucks.
Yeah, well, now those couple bucks wouldn't even go to me. It would actually.
It would go towards the jet.
Wait, I know where this is going.
It would go towards the jet.
Yeah, it'll actually go to our $35 million private jet that we're raising, so we could take our Let's Go Devils podcast fans along the trip to various cities like Chicago. I'd even take the private jet to LaGuardia Airport from Newark just because we can, and go on these road trips and watch our New Jersey Devils play on the road. We will own the other team's building, and it only costs $35 million. I mean, how this all started was, I guess there was one of these televangelists that asked his group to that's it. Sorry, I forgot the terminology, but to donate $35 million because they needed that private jet. I thought, if they need a private jet, so how about us? So for a couple bucks, I'll put it in the kitty, and we're raising money for that for that private jet. And of course, we're always selling T-shirts as well. We should start embedding commercials, on this podcast, selling our T-shirts so we can raise for that.
Just make a commercial and just air it in the middle of the podcast. And when we need a break, I ran out of beer a long time ago. I need to go get another one, but I can't get up and go and get it. Hey, by the way, just to kind of go back and circle the wagons and just kind of like touch on what we started the show off on, Miles Wood getting signed to a 4-year deal of 2.5 AV. I just want to ask you guys just a general question. Since we have all three of us, Short Sky and Sam, what are your thoughts on Miles Wood as a player? I hear that he's going to be working. He worked on a lot of like hand-eye coordination over the summer and is like primed to try to score more. So what are your feelings about him signing this 4-year deal?
Well, he signs this deal, and now he's got to prove why he held out for a little bit and why he got the money he was paid. That's the big thing. Now he's going to show up for it.
You're talking about 4 years. 4 years is a long time. 4 years is a long time. And the money that they spent is not that bad. It's really not that bad. $2.5 million is, say if Miles Wood, whatever, just didn't pan out year or two, he's tradable. He's definitely tradable. It's not, you're not absorbing billions of dollars on the cap, but, I think it's just, it was a good risk assessment by Ray Shiro. He stood his ground, and eventually they came to agreement. 4 years. Was it $2.5 million? I think the last year's $3.5 million. Am I correct on that?
And at the end of it, he's an RFA still, which is pretty interesting. There's something I was reading today. It's something I was reading today, and it could have been a mistake or whatever. But from what I understand, that he's an RFA at the very end of his contract, or at least towards whatever the hell. I don't know. It was something like that, which is kind of interesting. If that's true, it's I guess that was a part of the bargaining chip. In my honest opinion, I feel like he's a good part of this team, in the sense that he's fast. If he can pick up the scoring a little bit more, he's going to be one of those guys that the Devils can rely on as being like a second liner that's going to add some punch to the lineup. I don't know, man. I feel like it got done at the right time, everything else that we were saying in the beginning of the show, but it's just, I like him as a player. I feel like he kind of like fits the mold of what this team is, like a guy that flew under the radar, that a lot of people might have passed over, who's got a chip on his shoulder, who's, got some speed and tenacity. I don't know. I like it. I feel like it's a good signing. 4 years, not bad.
I think Miles Wood is really the X factor of this New Jersey Devils team. Really. I mean, he brings a lot of energy. When he's flying down the ice, when he's hitting, when he's on his game, you could tell the other players, they want to do better. They want to. He brings the energy to the team when he's not bringing the energy. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. And he's rewarded with a 4-year contract. I just hope that Miles is going to be consistent. He's definitely improved over the last couple of years, and I think that it's time to take it to the next level. Put up or shut up. I would expect him to have about 20-something goals. And and a lot of playing time, and he's fast. He's gonna buck it up when he has to, and I've seen times when the Devils are down 3-0, and who's the one that's starting trouble by hustling out there? It's Miles Wood. It's usually Miles Wood that tries to jumpstart the team and get them going. So I think it's a good signing. I don't think it's any risk to the team, the salary cap, or the Devils, and hopefully it works out. Hopefully he can put up 20 goals, 20 assists, and bring that energy and spark plug to the Devils lineup.
Yeah, I'm totally. I agree with the contract. I like the length. I like the money spent. It's just when in my mind. Anyone who holds out for any period of time like this and misses the beginning of a preseason, he better hit the ground running and
good point.
Make sure that there's no lag in the beginning of the season. Otherwise, that's the first thing people are going to be saying. It's like, oh, well, he held out. Was he doing anything during that time or anything? And I hope it works out. And, he's just got to, he's got to do what he needs to do to make it look, to prove that this was the proper contract. And you know what? And by all means, in 4 years, he does phenomenal. Then you reward him again with an even better contract. So it's I'm all for it. And I was when you brought up that RFA at the end, I had to sit and think, like, who does that benefit? It's like it's an odd thing. I'm trying to figure out who it benefits more. Us, like the organization or him, or was it a mutual thing?
See, I don't know. And I got to double check on that too, because it was something I was kind of like reading through, and I was like, all right, great. He got signed. And there was a bunch of things getting kind of thrown out there of like what the deal was, and somebody mentioned it. So, if that's the case, you have to think that it's good in the aspect that he can't walk away at the end of 4 years. Mm-hmm. Not to say, like, if he goes off and he starts scoring like 25 plus a year, once he hits that fourth year, like, he could, if he's an RFA, then I guess that protects the Devils of him just like getting up and walking out.
Newsflash, I went on capfriendly.com. It does say RFA after 2021-22. So you are absolutely correct.
So there you go. So that means the Devils have some rights to, at least negotiating with him and not letting him just walk away free. So that's good. That's good. Hey, it's a good contract. It's a good contract all around. I think Ray did a great job, and I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that just is going to be the cornerstone of this team. I know a lot of people freak out. What's that?
We got a couple cornerstones now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Coleman, and that's another one. Coleman for 3 years. We have Coleman for 3 years. We have Nason for just one. Those are the real signings that they did over the summer. And I know a lot of people are freaking out, like, "Oh my God, like we didn't do anything," and blah blah blah. And we've addressed this 1,000 times. But at the same time, I feel like Ray's doing kind of like what he needs to do, is shaping this team. I don't know if you guys saw the list of everybody that kind of got put on waivers today and everybody that's getting shipped out. There's a couple of names on there that surprised me, like Blake Spears kind of surprised me. But for the most part, it was just kind of expected. A lot of guys like Gabriel, after he was mucking around in that Islanders game.
Yeah, he was.
Oh my God.
Was your boy on that list?
No, he's still hanging. He's still hanging with the club. He's still hanging with the club. Would it surprise me if he gets sent to Binghamton? No, but he's still up there. He's still up there for now. I think they want to get him a couple more looks before they officially send him down. Honestly, I feel like Joey Anderson's going to be the one that makes the big team. I just feel like he's progressing in his hockey career to get to this point. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of other guys that have the talent, but just kind of like Mikey McLeod, have the talent and just kind of hang at a certain level and are slowly progressing towards that. Whereas Joey Anderson, I feel like every year he's achieving a bigger and better goal. You know, whether it be being captain of the World Junior team or, winning a championship in college or, whatever the next step is for him. Like, he keeps on raising or elevating his level. So I don't know. I feel like there's a good possibility that he could make it.
Yeah, and that's what you want as a younger player. You want to have some upward motion to be on this team, and he's got that trajectory going for him. But he's also going in with a team full of just a lot of young guys, which is great if we can keep everything together. Like I said before, we got a lot of cornerstones, and we absolutely do. Which my hope is that it's nothing but great things for us going forward in the future, which would be phenomenal.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it was kind of wild. I actually had an opportunity this week. I was on the Puck Off podcast with Joe Bartnick, who we had. It was awesome, dude. It was awesome. We did a whole thing about the Metro Division and kind of like where we saw everybody, where everybody stands in the Metro, and all three of us agreed. Joe Bartnick, myself, and Frage all agreed that we saw the Devils in third in the Metro, which is kind of cool. But two guys who have a ton of knowledge in not just the Devils, but throughout hockey in general. We're kind of pointing to that as well, just saying like there's so much potential for this team, and there's a lot of young talent, and there's a lot of raw talent. Someone like Pavel Zacha, who put in a ton of work in the offseason this year, is ready to take. I feel like is ready to take that next big step, where he's going to be that second line center that he was kind of billed to be when he was coming into the draft. And that was the biggest thing. And when he was drafted, the Devils could have gotten Barzal. And a lot of people piss and moan like, oh, we could have had Barzal. And it's like, you don't know what Barzal is going to be until he becomes that. You know what I mean? Like, Pavel Zacha on paper was big, strong, Ovechkin-type player who can, score and throw his body around and make a difference out there. So I feel like this is the year where you're going to see vast improvement in him.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want. But, that those complaints come with every draft. You don't know what these guys are going to do when they get out there in the NHL, and it's been, I think I totally agree with you. I think Zacha is going to have a really good season, which is exactly what we need. Get some more depth there, and then again, if they can keep this core together and this core can grow and learn and just stick together, I think it's nothing but great things for the Devils. and that's exactly
Yeah.
what I hope for. You know,
You just gotta hope
that's.
Hall.
Go
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say you just gotta hope that Hall they lock up Hall next summer, and then the summer after they lock up Heischer for a long-term deal and kind of let Ray just put this team together piece by piece. I feel like Eberle is going to be one of those free agents next summer that's going to make a jump from the Islanders over to the Devils. That's just kind of like a weird hunch that I have, but yeah.
Now I'm curious in any of this negotiation with Miles Wood if that conversation came up, like, hey, listen, we're going to give you this now. You show us so that when we get Hall and Heischer re-signed, that in 4 years you'll get your payday. When that happens, because that Hall's going to take a lot of money. Heischer's going to take a lot of money. I'm wondering if that even came up in the conversation, but it's that's what Shiro had in the back of his mind. He has to organize his things. I'm just curious where I would love to have heard the negotiations just to see what was there. It must have been just interesting to hear.
Yeah, or even if that kind of stuff comes up, like, do you even bring that up? Like, hey, listen, we'll take care of you in a couple of years or whatever. And who knows? Like, there's something that's, if you look at the Nylander situation up in Toronto, where they're kind of like at an impasse. I don't. There's players out in the NHL right now that there could be opportunity for the Devils to go after them, And if they got somebody like a Nylander, where he's a pretty top end talent, that would be an instant boost to this team. Like, do you give Miles this contract and say that stuff to him, basically saying like, hey, we're giving you this deal, but this is like, it's not a bridge deal. It's not like whatever, but it is a prove it deal. Like, you prove it to us and we'll give you a better, an even bigger contract in a couple of years. So it is kind of interesting to be a fly on the wall in those conversations.
Yeah. Or even to extend, like, 2-3 years in, you get to the end of that third year and it's like, all right, well, you know what, you've done well. Let's extend this past and we'll up your pay and stuff like that. Plus on top of it, that the Devils are trying to build something with what we have. So, maybe part of the conversation could have been, listen, we've got a lot of good things coming in the next couple of years. You're going to want to be a part of this. So, let's talk these numbers now. And then in 4 years, 3 years, what have you, we'll talk again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they got to get Vatanen signed in a couple of years. They got to get, Butcher signed in a couple of years, Heischer, Hall. Yeah. So they got a couple big contracts that are going to be coming down the pipeline. So I think Shiro is playing this smart, not going out and overspending now for guys that are going to be worthless in 2-3 years, that are going to just tie up money that they don't have. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's I don't know. People go crazy because they want like results now and they want like things to happen now. And it's like, listen, he took this team that was like in cap hell, that was strapped with all these crazy contracts, and basically dug them out of that situation, and they've gotten them to the playoffs last year. Give it time. Just let it develop and see what happens.
Agreed.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Sam.
Yeah. There's a couple squirrels roaming around in the Primetime Radio Bunker Studios that just went by. So I think we probably need to close the show because I got to find those two squirrels. There's a red one and a gray one.
Yeah, you better go get them. Sam.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, that's not code for anything. That Sam really does have squirrels running around in his basement.
Yeah, I really do have in the Bunker Studios, right? So there will be, with the apocalypse, there's going to be cockroaches, squirrels, and the Let's Go Devils podcast.
Whoever's lucky enough to be stuck there.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Well, we definitely want to give a big thanks to Organist Pete for coming on to the Let's Go Devils podcast for the first time. Class act, cult figure inside the Prudential Center. We're definitely going to send them a couple T-shirts and Also, we would like to thank our viewers, our listeners on Facebook Live, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube Live, or wherever we are. We're on multiple platforms right now for George squirrels. Yeah, there was actually 2 squirrels that were definitely. Now we have the Ranger fan that's like, trying to pop it into the podcast. Well, guess what? I have a theme song that I'm going to play of your season upcoming. Kurt.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Yeah,
Thank you, Eric.
Kurt.
Thank you, George.
yeah, Kurt.
Charlie. Sabrina.
Get out of here, Kurt.
Hey, Sabrina. Hey, thanks.
Get out of here, Kurt. See, there's always a Ranger fan that has
Get
to
outta here,
spoil
Kurt.
your. Yeah, get out of here. You know what, Big Cat? Why don't you come here and eat the squirrel for me? Anyway.
Yeah, I want to answer this question for Kyle. Kyle, the podcasts are every Sunday, 9:00 on Facebook Live here, Twitter, Periscope. Where else, Sam?
Rain, snow, or apocalypse.
YouTube.
Yes.
YouTube Live. We're on iTunes, iHeartRadio app, iHeartRadio.com. We're everywhere. I can't even keep track now. Keep
that's
track.
great. Multiple platforms. That's what we want.
We are the most commented Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts. We seriously are. Well, all we do is get caught. I mean, we're actually
we do it live.
bumping up in numbers. Yeah, we do it live. We do everything live, right?
Yes, we do.
So, you know what? We love our listeners. We love our viewers, except for Kurt. And,
By the way, get out of here, Kurt. By the way, we need to look and see if we have any. Last year, we had two or 3 games that were West Coast games that were on Sunday nights, and it was perfect because we had we were able to comment on the game a little bit at the same time as the podcast is going. So it was a lot of fun. Just
That's
to
what we
prove
got to
that
figure
we're-
out for this year going forward. So
yeah, we'll definitely figure
Thanks,
it out.
Colby.
We'll definitely.
Colby makes a great point. One of the best organizations in the league. Keep it going. Good work. Thank you, Colby.
here we go. Thank you.
I'm assuming he's referring to us and the Devils, or
Yes, we'll just take that. Yep, we will take that.
and George, you're more than welcome. Yeah, live definitely makes it more engaging. It's fun because when you guys comment, we are able to read it right away, and there's sometimes where funny things happen. Like the night we got trolled, that was a lot of fun, and then we found out they were like Predator fans and. Wow.
Yeah, that was a fun night, right? When we got trolled by Predators fans.
Yeah, and then towards the end of it, they were on our side, so we're winning over fans left and right, east and west.
Even from other organizations.
Exactly.
Sooner or later, we're gonna win over Kurt. Big Kurt.
We might win over Kurt.
Yeah.
We might.
Well, if he's listening to our podcast, I think he kind of likes us. I think he kind of likes the New Jersey Devils. So I'm trying to cue up the exit music.
The outro.
The outro.
Hey, soon we'll have our very own intro and outro music.
There we go.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Personalized.
Yes, by Pete. But till then, I will. We'll go out to some
Thank you,
Pete
Kurt.
Pete Organist tunes from ripped off from YouTube that I did earlier today. You think we should outro to Pete's music?
Yes.
I think we should.
Good.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, until next time, let's go Devils. Yeah, I just blew that one. Hold on a second.
Sam,
You're doing so well, Sam. You're
I know
doing so well.